Okay, so we'll call the meeting on April 5th on Tuesday of the Washoe County Open Spaces and Regional Parks Commission to order. Denise, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Chris Nenzel,
Present.
Doug Doolittle,
Present.
Stephanie Chen,
Present.
Maxwell Di Natale, Nicholas Martin Kearney,
Present.
Darla Lee,
Present.
and Lisa Rode is unavailable. We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Max, would you lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Agenda item number 3 is public comment. Is there any public comment?
No, there's not.
Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is the approval of the agenda for Open Spaces and Regional Parks Commission meeting of April 15th, 2022. Would any of the commissioners like to approve the agenda or move to approve the agenda?
I move to approve, and that, just to correct the April 5. I think you said April 15th.
Tax season must be on my mind. Sorry, Doug.
Yeah, no problem.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Chen, I'll go ahead and second.
It has been approved or moved to approve and seconded. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Commissioner Nenzel, I recommend taking public
Oh,
comment.
sorry. Is there public comment on the agenda?
No, there's not.
Sorry. Call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion passes. Item 5 is approval for minutes of Open Spaces and Regional Parks Commission meeting of March 1st, 2022. Any public comment on this?
No public comment.
Okay. Would any of the commissioners like to make a motion?
Commissioner D'Antilio motions to approve.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Kearney approving second.
Thank you. It's been moved for approval and seconded. Could I call for the vote? Those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 6 is acknowledgement and recognition of park operations staff for their outstanding service and contributions to Washoe County.
Can you hear me? There we go. Good afternoon, Chair Nenzel, Commissioners, and staff. For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. I'm always excited when I have one of these to present. So this is a 25-year certificate of continuous service for Joe Casaras. Joe, would you like to come on up? So I'm going to rack my brain here. I believe Joe started with Sierra Sage Golf Course.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then he has been working on the parks end of things since, I don't know what, 2002,
Oh, gosh.
3, 11? Oh, gosh, I thought it was longer than that. As an irrigation specialist? Yep, so he's been an irrigation specialist on the park end of things for well over 10 years, probably 15 years. So we appreciate his time, but 25 years is a big deal, so congratulations. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for the years that you've spent putting back into the community. And
Mr. Chairman, if I can make a comment.
of course,
Joe, hopefully you can hear me. I just want to congratulate you on your 25 years. You've been an outstanding employee throughout, and we really appreciate all the time and effort you put in, and being very flexible by moving around to different operations and doing a continuous good job. Thank you.
Joe already left, but I will make sure I pass on, and I'll make sure he watches. So thanks, Doug.
It's something I can't see when people leave.
he came back.
Oh, he did. Hey, you have someone that was making comments for you. Come on up. Don't be shy. These guys, they do a ton of work out in the field, and you'd never know it because they're like that park ferry that comes and goes. So you got some nice acknowledgement from Chair
I heard that as I was walking on. I really appreciate it.
Commissioner Doolittle.
That acknowledgement.
Very welcome.
And it's been a fun stint with the parks and staff that I've worked with as well. And look forward to seeing out some more future projects that come to Washoe County. And appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you again, Joe. All right, well, moving on to item 7, the Eagle Scout presentation, picnic table restoration at Davis Creek Campground, completed by Clark Burns.
Uh-oh.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Park Ranger Nick Stoyer, overseeing Davis Creek Regional Park down in Washoe Valley. And it's my privilege today to introduce you to Clark Burns, Eagle Scout from Troop 154. And he's going to show you what he has done down in Davis Creek Park.
So on November 6th of 2021, I did the restoration of the tables, like about 10 tables at Davis Creek. And I had a bunch of scouters helping. I plan on having like 30 or so scouts, and I had about that much the first day, but as I did my project, the weather came a little bit sooner than expected to be, and so I had to move it to another day, and many people couldn't do it because of a bunch of conflicts with other scouting events and personal life. So I just had like a couple people just help me and try to finish the projects. And so I got it approved for doing 7.5 tables for my project, and I got all my paperwork turned in for my Eagle, and I'm continuing my projects, hopefully Easter weekend, and hopefully be able to finish the projects. And here are some before pictures of how the tables looked before the sanding and coatings, and some work by some people and scouts. So there's been a lot of engravings as well as cracks in the benches, and from just a bunch of weather and just people. And we also did some cleaning up of pine needle work in the process if people weren't really doing that much. And then here are some after photos of the tables. And sorry if some of them are blurry. So as I talked about, I wanted to continue to do the projects on Easter weekend, and there's about 2.5 tables that need to be sanded, and then I need to coat them after sanding them with mineral spirits and oils, and So that's pretty much all I have to have. Any questions or comments or concerns?
Well, Commissioner Nenzel, so just my thanks for the work that you did to restore the picnic tables at the campground. They certainly look much better than they did when you started. Also, it sounds like maybe in the process of working on your project, you might have learned a little bit about contingency plans.
Yeah.
There you go. Great job on the project. They look great. How long did it take for you to, restore each table?
Probably each table took about 45 minutes to an hour, and that was before I learned out that I needed rougher grit that I needed to because of the coating they did on the before.
Very cool. And what was your favorite part of the project?
Probably one of my favorite parts of it was just seeing how the scouts operated and just working on the project and communicating with each other.
Great. Thank you for leading that project, and I'm glad you got that experience to lead the scouts as well.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to grant a slope and landscape easement totaling 13,017 square feet and a temporary construction easement totaling 78,439 square feet to Toll North Reno LLC, and so on and so forth. I'll let the presentation speak to the rest of it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Park Commissioners and staff. Sophia Kirschenman, Park Planner with Washoe County Planning for the record. As mentioned, this item is a slope and landscape easement proposal at Lazy 5 Regional Park. And you did receive a presentation on this topic at the last Park Commission meeting from Jeff Borkart with Toll Brothers. So I will try not to be too redundant here, but we'll try to cover the big topics of the day. So just as a reminder, the proposal is for a 3-to-1 slope and landscape easement totaling approximately 13,017 square feet, as well as a temporary construction easement that would last 18 months and would total approximately 78,439 square feet. And this would impact Lazy 5 Regional Park, kind of the area just to the north of the multi-use fields, and it would support the neighboring Stonebrook West housing development. The proposal also includes mitigation in addition to landscaping and irrigation of that 3-to-1 slope and maintenance of the landscaping and irrigation in perpetuity. The applicant is also proposing trail construction in conformance with the Lazy 5 Regional Park Master Plan. The proposal also includes preservation of existing mature trees. Just to back up and provide some context, here is Lazy 5 Regional Park. It is located east of Pyramid Highway and north of Wingfield Hills Road in Spanish Springs. There is currently one developed vehicular access point off of Pyramid Highway. The park is developed with a number of amenities, including a couple of playgrounds, a community center, a skate park, there's a library on site, and then a multi-use field in that sort of northeastern portion of the property. And that's kind of the portion that would be impacted most by this current proposal. Here again, zoomed in, you can see that the permanent slope easement would be located just to the northwest and northeast of that multi-use field, and then the subdivision would be north of the park boundary. And one final vantage point, just to drive the point home, here is the multi-use field, and then again, just an outline of the permanent easement area shown there in yellow. For some background, the City of Sparks has approved the Stonebrook West housing development with a 6-foot-tall fence atop a 6-foot-tall retaining wall along the length of the property boundary between Lazy 5 Regional Park and the subdivision. The applicant is proposing the current 3-to-1 slope for a number of reasons, including that it would be less expensive than the construction of the retaining wall, but also because it would provide a softer visual buffer and kind of a softer transition between the park use and the neighboring subdivision. Jeff, or Mr. Borkhardt, did walk through all these photo simulation views at the last meeting, but I think they're pretty telling and pretty illustrating, so we'll walk through them again. They are shown from a number of different vantage points, which you can see on this map here. So first, the photo simulation from location A, kind of in the northwest of the field, looking to the northwest. The existing conditions are shown there on the right. And then here on the left, we have the current slope option, the proposal in front of you today with the landscaping. You can see the trees going on down the line. The trees on the right are existing mature trees, and then the trees on the left would be the trees planted at a rate of 1 tree per 50 linear feet. You can also see some native vegetation down there. Obviously, these photo simulations show us well into the future because trees take a long time to get to this size, but this would be what the site would ultimately look like with this option a number of years down the road. And on the right, we have what is currently approved with the wall and fence option. Here we are at location B, looking to the northeast, right by, you can see a net, a gold net there. And again, on the left, we have the proposal with the slope, the landscape slope and the trees, and then on the right, what is currently approved. Here's location C, looking north, existing conditions on the right there. And then again, I think this is kind of a nice vantage point of the native vegetation. You can see what that would look like in the option on the left, and then what's currently approved on the right. Here's location D. Again, existing conditions on the right. And here we are again with some trees down the road, some mature native vegetation down the road on the left, and then in the right, what is currently approved with that sort of block retaining wall. And finally, one last one. This is from sort of the northeastern corner of the park boundary looking to the northwest. And you can see existing conditions on the right. Again, the proposal on the left and the currently approved wall option on the right. In terms of park irrigation, the landscaping and irrigation would be part of the proposal. This would consist of native vegetation and, as I mentioned, trees at a rate of 1 tree per 50 linear feet. Maintenance of that landscaping, irrigation, and then also the retaining wall and any graffiti or vandalism of the retaining wall would be the responsibility of the HOA in perpetuity. They are proposing trail construction from the skate park area to the northeast property boundary. And this would essentially provide connectivity to the subdivision as well as to 2 City of Sparks trail corridors. There's one trail corridor sort of along the Ore Ditch to the northwest, and then one along Reach 9, which is to the northeast of the park. This would be a compacted dirt trail, 4 inches to 6 inches above grade. The trail would be 3 feet wide directly north of the field and then transition to a 4-foot wide trail to the northeast. And that was at the request of staff, primarily for access in case they need to do any sort of maintenance in the northeast portion of the park. And Toll Brothers has accommodated that request. Here's the Lazy 5 Regional Park Master Plan. I just wanted to briefly show you this so that you can see that the path is in conformance with the master plan. You can see it located there. You can see the multi-purpose field area and then the path kind of extending along the property boundary. In terms of impacts, there would be noise and visual impacts during construction. The slope grading is expected to take 3 months, and the applicant is hoping that the slope would be constructed this month with the vegetation and landscaping and irrigation installed this fall. However, they have indicated to me that there have been a number of supply chain shortages and just issues in terms of construction that they're experiencing at present. And so that the timeline could be delayed, and that is why the temporary construction easement would last for a duration of 18 months. Regardless, they will coordinate with staff, and once they get a sort of definitive timeline, they would work with staff to ensure that construction does not conflict with any permitted field activities or events or just other occurrences within the park. In terms of consistency with the parkland easement policy, staff has found the request to be in conformance as it would provide a net benefit to park users and the general public by improving connectivity and access and also visual resources within the park. I think this option is superior to the block retaining wall with the fence, kind of a 12-foot tall block along the property boundary. It's also consistent with the Lazy 5 Regional Park Master Plan and in fact does help implement a small portion of the master plan, and the trail connectivity would provide long-term benefit to the community. And with that, staff is recommending that the Park Commission recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners, and I'm available for any questions. I believe that we also have Mr. Borkhart from Toll Brothers on Zoom and available for questions if you have any for them as well.
Thank you. Commissioners, what questions do you have?
This is Commissioner Doolittle. I do have some questions. I accept that this is the better option, no doubt. But I want to make certain that several things are covered. The drainage, is there a drainage easement as well? How are they handling the drainage from their properties going to the south?
I can answer that, Sophia.
Sure, go ahead.
So the site is graded to actually drain into the streets. And so any drainage that gets picked up on the slope will be solely on this property coming from the slope itself. It won't be coming from our subdivision. All the lots will drain towards the street into the subdivision. It will not drain south to the park.
So drain from the south to the north then?
Correct.
Okay, and as far as access for maintenance, is that access through the project property or is the access through the park?
For the landscape maintenance for the trees?
For any of the maintenance that is needed in that easement, is there going to be a access coming from the toll property, or is there continued access necessary through the park that may disrupt play on the fields? That's primarily what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I see your point. You should be able to access it from the toll property by foot. You wouldn't be able to get a vehicle in without going through to the park. So that is a good point. But more than likely, a lot of this stuff is going to be just cleanup of tumbleweeds or your typical pruning. You won't have shrubs or anything like that. The natural revegetation should take root in there.
And last question, when the development at what point does the toll turn over the control of the HOA and all implications to that? What point of construction, 60%, 80%, 50%? I don't know off the top of my head on what percentage it is. Every development's a little bit different in the CCNRs, but it is a certain percentage of home ownership moving in, but that would be many years down the line. So toll will maintain ownership maintain a board seat until such time that it hits that percentage threshold. This would immediately, as soon as that HOA, as soon as we can turn it over to the HOA, as soon as those improvements are completed, we will immediately turn this responsibility over to the HOA. From a budgetary standpoint, toll keeps paying the bill until it gets turned over. So if I understand you right, then the agreement's really with the HOA, not with toll, because the HOA would take it into perpetuity.
The agreement's with Toll Brothers, and then we assign the contract when we do the turnover to the HOA. So there's an assignment clause in all of our CCNR documents. And basically, while we're in control, we can place things into the HOA's responsibility.
Right. Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Denise, is there any public comment?
I don't believe so. We do have a person on Zoom that isn't one of the commissioners, so I just wanted to make a reminder that if you do have public comment, to please use the raise hand icon. But I don't believe we have public comment.
All right, are any of the commissioners interested in making a motion?
This is Doug Doolittle. I would make the motion to approve. I don't have that particular memo in front of me, so I don't know the exact wording. If you would read it for me, that would be great.
So Doug, are you saying that you would move to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners grant a slope and landscape easement totaling 13,017 square feet and a temporary construction easement totaling 78,439 square feet to Toll North Reno LLC on APN 083-024-6, commonly known as Lazy 5 Regional Park, for the purposes of constructing and maintaining a 3-to-1 landscape slope for the purposes landscape slope to support the neighborhood Stone West housing development, as well as associated mitigation in the form of trail construction?
Yes, thanks.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, motion has been presented and seconded. I will call for the vote. Those in favor that say aye, or say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9, the presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to approve a lease agreement between Washoe County and Polygrarian Institute, DBA Reno Food Systems, for the lease of 5 square acres at Betsy Call and Donnelly Park for an urban teaching farm for the term of 5 years commencing April 26, 2022 through April 25th, 2027 for possible action.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. So you should have a staff report and a proposed agreement, an agreement to be approved, hopefully today, and that is a lease agreement for the use of 5 acres of Betsy Call and Donnelly Park. So I'm going to give a brief presentation just to give some background on what we've done for the past 5 years, and then I have Lindsay Langsdale with Reno Food Systems to present a little bit more in depth about Reno Food Systems and the work that they do out there. We have entered into a 3-year lease agreement with Polygrarian Institute back in 2017, and it was with an option of 2 successive 1-year renewals, so a total of 5 years. So we are currently due to, that lease will expire on May 14th of 2022, so we wanted to bring this back to the commission to be sure we were, getting ready for a new lease agreement. The leasee has been really wonderful over the last 5 years. They've done lots of improvements to the property and really have become part of that community out there. They've been good communicators, and they've done everything according to the lease agreement in terms of communicating with us on any of their proposed improvements to the property. And we typically meet at least annually on site, if not a few times, and then we communicate regularly via email. And they've done a great job kind of connecting with the city of Reno. The park is actually within city of Reno's sphere of influence, so they wind up having to do a lot of the permitting through the city of Reno. So we've figured that out in the best way possible, and it's been a good relationship thus far. So this is just a picture of the park from our Washoe County Regional Mapping System. It's 30 acres. You can see there's that funky private parcel in between that we do not own. So we own 30 acres, and it's right on the corner of Mayberry and McCarran. There's no parking. There's no actual parking lot for this park. It's literally just a walk-in park. So the next slide shows that the red highlighted section is 6 acres of a landscaped. It's got some landscaping, some turf, lots of trees, and walking paths. And then we've got the 5-acre lease, which is highlighted in yellow to the right, and that's the current lease area with Poly Agrarian Institute, Reno Food Systems. And then below that, and highlighted in green, is roughly 19 acres of a leased parcel for ranching. So there's typically been a pasture lease agreement for many years with local ranchers that work the land much like it was years ago. And we will continue to practice that. When we got into this lease agreement, we actually pulled 5 acres off of that. So we had about 24 acres that was being ranched or leased for that purpose, and then we pulled the 5 acres off of that. This is a map, so it's a little bit of a different direction in terms of how you're oriented, but this is a map that was included in the agreement. I believe it's Exhibit A in the agreement, and this is what is currently happening on that 5-acre parcel right now, and I'll have Lindsay go into that in more detail. And then just a couple of changes I wanted to make sure you were aware of since the previous lease agreement. So some of the improvements they did on site, it started slow. They're a nonprofit, and they're just figuring out how to, get some funding, some grant funding. So the first thing they did was really put in some additional perimeter fencing. They worked on getting a meter onto the water system because they pulled off of our water system, and then got drip irrigation to all of their planter beds. They've since planted several shrubs, trees, and vines in the perimeter for vegetative screening, but also that vegetative screening is it's a lot of fruit trees, and so things that will actually produce food over time. There's a tool shed, a shade structure, a farm trailer on site where they sell their produce. They have a compost area, which is critical for when you're doing large farming areas out there. And they have a portable animal shelter. They've had, I believe, just goats and pigs to date. And then that can move where they want it to go. And then they also, we were able to secure an additional water connection that's still in the works. So those are some of the improvements over the last 5 years. And then some future improvements, and I just confirmed with Lindsay that it sounds like the hoop house is up, which is great because that extends their growing, and they can actually do some seed production in there. They're looking to get a hopeful electrical connection in the future, and then a restroom. So I would like to pass it over to Lindsay for her part of the presentation. But what I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of and the background information on the staff report is, part of the cooperative, the lease agreement is that Poly Agrarian Institute, AKA Reno Food Systems, will be doing some education and some programs with the public. And I think Lindsay can describe what they've done to date. So Lindsay, welcome.
Good afternoon. Nice to see everybody. Okay. So where do I point this? There we go. All right. So we're a nonprofit. This is our new mission statement. We're farmers, we're mentors and advocates, stewarding lands and sharing food and resources for the well-being of our earth, community, and future generations. And for the record, my name's Lindsay Langsdale. I'm the farm manager, and I'm the president of Reno Food Systems. So we're a nonprofit, and we have 6 different programs that we run based from the farm site. And what I'll do is take you on a photographic tour of the site itself, and then I'll come back and talk about these programs that we run and talk about Reno Food Systems as an organization towards the end of the presentation. So Colleen already got to this spot, so that's our 5 acres, and I just want to mention how special I think this property is, and the foresight that Betsy Collin Donnelly had to work with the county to preserve this as agricultural land is something, as a farmer in an area where I've seen in my lifetime so much agricultural land be developed. Being able to work here is a super special thing for us, me personally, and it's lovely to be able to share this information with the neighborhood, because I get asked daily, so when's your farm going to get developed? And I get to kind of describe the partnership with the county and how special it is. So this was the parcel in 2018. So it was part of the leased ranch land before we got the lease. So it's pasture grass. And we started our work to build it into a farm spring of 2018. So this is what we were working with. And that's me and a silly rented too small of a rototiller trying to create our first topsoil. So we started to work that land, build topsoil so we could grow something other than the pasture grass. That was our big 2018 project, was to start to get topsoil. And as Colleen mentioned, that's us putting in the first of our irrigation, photo on the left, and then the photo on the right is us putting in a barbed wire fence that separates our 5 acres from the ranch property to keep the cows out. And then we put 1/3 of an acre into production that first year. So this is our first tomato patch. And we had a wide variety of annual vegetables that year. Currently, we have probably 30 or so different varieties of annual vegetables. This is our red Russian kale. And we started doing sales that year, so we worked with some restaurants. This is a pizza restaurant that did a special with our Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. And we sold to the Great Basin Food Co-op starting that year. We opened our farm stand that year, so selling produce to the neighbors directly from the farm. We open the farm every Sunday afternoon. Neighbors can come in, take tours, buy produce, hang out, ask millions of questions about gardening. And then we started our produce donations that year as well. So first working with Catholic Charities, donating produce, and to date we have worked with probably 15 to 20 different pantries and programs donating a big percentage of our produce. We started volunteer days that first year, so we've got currently about 350 volunteers on our list that we send notices out weekly about opportunities to come out to the farm and help with every single task you can imagine, from harvesting to moving dirt. We had volunteers on the right putting compost in the ground to prep for an area where we're putting trees. So 2019, you can see a little bit of a difference here. I'll use this pointer, but the commissioners might not be able to see it. So 2018, we just had the first third of an acre parcel, and then 2019, we added 3 more. So we had about 1 1/3 acres in production. And then up front here, we have some of our perennial demonstration gardens first starting to be developed right there. And you can see our shed and our first iteration of our farm stand right there. And we got our first animals that year. These were our baby goats, and they helped weed. They are fun for visitors to the farm. They're our mascots. We had 3 goats that first round of animals. We added a bunch more irrigation that year, more soil building, so that's a few tons of compost being delivered. We started doing some more formal training, so that's one of our first interns right there. I'm teaching them how to lay out the drip irrigation. Expanded the volunteer and intern program. So these 2 here are 2 of our other first interns, and they're both still employed with us. So that first year in 2019, they came on expressing interest in becoming farmers as a career. So we trained them, and they're still around as proper employees at this point. We expanded our farm stand that year, so it's a little bit bigger, allowing for more produce to be displayed, more shoppers to be able to come through and purchase on Sundays. That year, we started our seedling program, so we grow and sell and donate thousands of vegetable seedlings, vegetables and herbs and perennial seedlings every spring. And this year, we started our big perennial push. So that's one of our blackberries, one of probably 150 blackberry bushes that we have at the farm. We did some more community engagement starting that year, so we started our Farm and Garden Club, and that's a monthly event that's in flux right now because the pandemic altered it a bit. But when we started it, it was a monthly club where we did a presentation about the farm, a tour of the farm, invited other growers and farm-related organizations to come to the farm, present about what they're doing, and then neighbors and any community member could come and take the tour and learn about different growing operations in town. So here we have 2020. This is in the fall of 2020, so you can, these were really beautiful drone photos showing the fall colors, but you can see the progress of the farm. So here's our demonstration gardens coming in. You can kind of see the perennials we put in on the west side, and you can see all the plots in production. And our farm stand, you can see how that's expanded in that photo right there. So our farm stand, you can see the white awning. So that was an awning from the neighboring Collin Ranch house. Then they tore it down for the development and let us reuse it. So we were able to build a really nice shade awning at the farm stand. We started our U-Pick events, so those are days where the public can come onto the farm, and for a set price, it's usually $10 or $15 a bag, they can walk through the farm and pick whatever they want, fill the bag for that price. And it's been a really popular thing that we do. A lot of people come with their families and like the opportunity to show their kids what food looks like coming out of the ground. We usually harness a lot of volunteer work, hours those days to help in the field with people learning how to harvest stuff, identify produce in the ground. So those are our fun days that we do kind of later in the season every summer. Here's a picture of the farm stand, and you can see our perennial gardens. This was year 2 for them, so you can see them starting to develop, and our development of the farm stand. This is one of the U-Pick days. You can see the people being swallowed up by the tomato patch. And then we do cut flowers also, so a person can come and pick a bouquet of flowers. That's a popular event that we do. Here's just some photos of our produce. Again, we have at least 30 different types of vegetables, everything from root vegetables, leafy greens, tomatoes, peppers, squash, all the summer stuff. And then we've got about 75 different types of herbs, both culinary and medicinal. More fun produce photos. Action shots, those are our special purple potatoes, and then the dino kale on the left, which is one of our most popular items. And more animals came. We got pigs that year and sheep. These are a second round of goats in this picture. Bees, we have a couple of beehives, and then blackberries up in the top. That was the first productive year for them, and we do U-Picks for the berries, so a person can come, pay $5 for a box, and then pick the berries themselves. Here's the demonstration perennial gardens in the front. More developed, you can start to see our fruit trees. And we call this area the demo gardens because it's kind of a showcase of everything that we have at the farm. So if a person comes and doesn't have time for a full tour, I can just point them in the direction of this area, and they can see a combination of our annual plants, our perennial plants, our pollinator plants, our fruiting trees and shrubs, and kind of get an idea of what different plants look like. So when they're trying to buy seedlings or do gardening at their house, they can kind of see what grows well, the size of different trees and shrubs, and ask questions. And so that's right up by the front of the property, easily accessible for people to learn about this kind of stuff. This is more education, so that's an intern. I'm showing her how to do some seeding with a seeder tool right there. And then on the right is some community engagement. We did a lot of tabling that year, so going out to different health fair events, or this was at the Women's and Children's Center, I believe. So we take different kinds of produce and do educational activities with kids that was a very good use for green tomatoes, we discovered. And then we started doing value-added products that year. So this is some of our herbs. We dry and sell the herbs, and then honey from our beehives. So that year, 2020, we started to push our food justice initiatives a little bit more, learning about some food insecurity data in our state, that there are quite a number of food insecure, both kids and adults and families in our community. So we wanted to address that. And what we've done is we accept EBT, so shoppers can use food stamps on our produce and our seedlings. We also accept farmers market vouchers, and those are coupons given to seniors and WIC participants where they can come to a farmer's market or a farm stand and buy produce using $3 or $5 coupons. We get reimbursed by the Department of Ag for that, so we still get paid for it, but the shopper gets to have the produce for free. And we're part of a double bucks program also, so if a person comes with food stamps and they buy $10 worth of produce, I can give them a double bucks coupon, so they have another $10 that they can spend at the farm, and we get reimbursed for that through the program. And then on the right is our mobile farmers markets. That's our old farm truck that most of the time starts, sometimes it doesn't. But we drive that around and we take it to neighborhoods that are in food deserts, and we can do kind of pop-up farmers markets with that truck. And I'll touch back on this in a few more slides, but in 2020 we got some CARES Act funding to launch a project that kept produce out of the waste stream, supported farmers, and got fresh-grown produce to food insecure families. And we started a partnership with the Eddy House, donating produce weekly. So that's kind of the progression of what the site has looked like over the past 5 years. And over the last year and coming into this year, we're really kind of honing our different programs. So our flagship program is the Park Farm at Betsy Collin Donnelly Park. And we call it Park Farm because we view it as a model of a public and nonprofit partnership, kind of a way that public lands can be utilized to support the community through growing food. So we envision it kind of the Park Farm at Betsy Collin Donnelly Park, and maybe someday there's a Park Farm at Rancho, or there's a Park Farm at Lazy Five. So that's how we refer to the farm. And then our second program, I touched on it a little bit, is our intern program. And we kind of focus on young adults for this. So the ladies on the right are Future Farmers of America, and they started interning with us when they were juniors in high school, and they completed their Future Farmer of America community service project with us at the farm. But then they stuck around and interned with us again. They both graduated high school and are at UNR in the Ag Sciences program right now. The one on the left with the goat, she's employed with us now, and this year will be her first year as an official full-time employee as soon as she gets out of school for the year. And then the lady on the left, she's a high school student and interns with us. She focuses on herb production, and she is learning how to make different products with our herbs, both culinary and medicinal products. So we offer internships to people who are seriously considering a career in agriculture, regardless of what the topic is, whether it's animal husbandry or crop production or value added. And then we hope to keep them on board and have them become employees. So far that's worked pretty well. And then our food justice program, so again, the mobile market on the left, that's us at Neal Road. We partner a lot with the Women's and Children's of the Sierra program, doing vegetable and produce distribution. So that's us kind of doing a pop-up farmers market with them. And then on the right, that was 2020, and the whole farm season we went on Thursdays to the Housing Authority Senior Complex and did a pop-up farmers market with the seniors there. Most of the seniors had the coupons and paid with their SNAP benefits. So that was a great partnership that year. And then this is the program where we got the CARES funding. So basically, we got CARES funding to buy any leftover produce from local farmers. So that was at the end of each farmer's market, whatever produce a farmer had left over that may have been thrown away or composted or fed to pigs. We purchased it from them at wholesale cost, and then we donated it to our pantry partners. So we were able to infuse the local food economy with about $40,000, and this was just from September to December of 2020. So we were able to get farmers some extra cash on produce that they normally would have been taken at a loss. It was all beautiful, mostly organic or naturally grown produce, and then we were able to give it to those partners. So we worked with about 10 to 12 different pantries, St. Vincent's Pantry, St. Francis, a couple of different school pantries, the Eddy House, Casa de Vida, Women's and Children's Center. So lots of folks got the food that year. Those 3 months. So it was about 15,000 pounds of food that we saved from the waste stream, and then also got to families who were experiencing food insecurity. And then for our food justice initiatives, we're also a member of a few different food and security coalitions. I'm on the working group for the State of Nevada Food Security Plan. So we work with both other nonprofits and state government groups to try and deal with the food insecurity that we have in our state and community. Our fourth program is the Reno Garlic Fest, if anybody's been to that event. This year will be our fourth or fifth time doing it. And it's a free public event that we have during Art Town celebrating local garlic. So like a miniature Gilroy Garlic Fest. And that's coming up this year. We're going to do it at Dick Taylor Park by the Evelyn Mount Community Center. And that's going to be in July. Our fifth program is the Nursery. So again, we grow thousands of seedlings, and half of them we sell at our farm stand, and the other half we donate to different school gardens, community gardens, organizations that are looking to help homeowners grow food that might need help purchasing the seedlings. And then our sixth program is our food forest, so that's all the perennials that I've mentioned. So we have probably 50 to 100 fruit trees, 200 to 300 fruit shrubs between blackberries, raspberries, currants, service berries, gooseberries, and then countless pollinator plants. Pretty much the whole border of the park of our parcel is lined with perennial plants, and along the ditches we have 2 irrigation ditches that run through the property that are lined by our perennials. So these plants not only provide food resources for us, they're really great habitat for our pollinator friends that we need at the farm. They're an excellent windbreak. We get some pretty ripping winds coming through that field from the south, and as those perennial windbreaks develop, that's really going to help protect the rest of the farm. So here's the map that Colleen showed. If you can see, these rectangles are our annual fields where all of the vegetable production happens. Our shed, we have solar panels that run the farm currently, refrigerator, our hoop house, and then here are these green circles. These are all of our food forest plants, so the trees, the shrubs, the pollinator plants all along the ends, and then we have the 2 ditches lined by the perennials that come through, and then this windbreak we're installing right now, so you'll see that up and running in the next few weeks. And I think that is it. Any questions?
Great presentation, Commissioners. What questions do you have?
Commissioner Lee, I was just wondering if you had any additional parking, because you mentioned that there was no parking lot. So for your, when you have your farmer's market, where do people park, or do you just have walk-ins?
So on Mayberry, right there on both sides of Mayberry, there's street parking.
Okay.
So customers just park along Mayberry, and that's where our entrance is. We have a pedestrian gate right at Mayberry. And there's a lot of street parking along both sides of the road, so it has yet to be an issue. We do our farm stands Sundays from 3 to 7, so it's people come throughout the day, so it's not really a huge rush at any point of the market. So the street parking has worked out well.
Great. So it's just on Sundays you are doing your farmer's market right now?
Correct.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions, commissioners?
I just wanted to say this is very impressive results, and the programs themselves are very impressive. I did have one question. With so many fruits and vegetables and other, food forest plants, what do you do in terms of pesticides and things like that? Is it just industry standards or all organic?
Yeah, we're not certified organic, but we grow organically, so we've never used a single pesticide or herbicide. So in terms of weeds, you're looking at the weeding tool right here. So we do, that's a lot of the volunteers come in handy for the weeding. And then if you've been out to the site, we have a lot of big black plastic tarps on the ground. And that's one of our organic weed management tools. So it kind of blocks the weeds from getting sunlight, so it kills the weed seed bank. So it's a passive tool for weed management. And then we don't have a ton of pests in terms of bugs and things. So what we do use is all organic, and it's minimal. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Not a question, just a comment. Great presentation. It's so great to see the growth that you've had since 2018 and what you've been able to expand and, truly maximize the space. I think it's exciting what you're doing for the community, and I love that term of park farm, to involve the community, allow them to engage and, get into this space. So great job. Thanks for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, and I'll just add that you took a portion of the park that not even the cows wanted to go into and made it very productive. My congratulations to Kat and Everett on their baby lambs. I'm kind of curious if you've named them yet, but I guess I'll see the update on the board when I go at some point.
The first one is Nix, and the second one is Pepper.
Excellent.
We got lots of community input
I'm
on the
sure you
names
did.
of the lambs.
Great. Any other commissioner comments? Any public comment?
No public comment.
The commissioners, there's a potential motion to be made on the presentation. Would anyone like to make the motion?
I'll go ahead. I'd like to move to recommend approval of a lease agreement between Washoe County and Polygarian Institute doing business as Reno Food Systems, as authorized under NRS 244.284 to be taken to the Board of County Commissioners for possible approval.
This is Commissioner Doolittle. I'll second that.
The motion has been made and seconded, calling for the vote. Those in favor that say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much.
Moving on to agenda item 10, Parks Program of the Month, Rancho San Rafael Parks 40th Anniversary Celebration, presentation by Brian Harrower. I hope I said that correctly.
Yes. Thank you very much for having us. For the record, District Park Manager Brian Harrower, and I also have Park Ranger Celia Walker with me as well. So we are doing a program this year celebrating 40 years of Rancho San Rafael being a park and also a huge part of this community. It's something that's been, if you've lived here or spent much time in this community at all, you've definitely spent some time here, and directly or indirectly enjoyed some of the benefits that we have from that, whether that be the balloon races. At one point it was Skyfire, 4th of July. So lots of different events that have happened here, and we all have some pretty fond memories of that. So really wanted to celebrate and highlight what the park has meant to the community, and also what the community has meant to the park. So on July 3rd, 1982, Rancho Centerfell Regional Park opened to the public with enthusiasm and pride. Washoe County Regional Parks and Open Space will celebrate the 40th anniversary of Rancho Centerfell Regional Park this year. There was a tremendous amount of effort that went in. We've been going through lots of records. We have been interviewing people who were involved with the process. And so it's been really exciting for us, not only getting to relive some of this history, but also uncovering some of the stuff that was, lost in the shuffle. We have staff that changes over. In 40 years, some of that institutional knowledge kind of gets lost. And so going back through these records, looking at some of these photos, it's been a really good experience for park staff. And I think it's going to give us a great base to be able to share that information with the public.
I'm Celia Walker. I'm park ranger based out of Rancho San Rafael. So we've got some things planned for this year, for the 40th anniversary. We've been working with the communications team at the manager's office, and Tammy suggested the 40 for 40, which has been hugely popular. We're doing social media inside Washoe posts about Rancho San Rafael. We're doing one a week for 40 weeks. They go into the history, the people, events, buildings, open space, everything that has shaped Rancho San Rafael Park. We started this the beginning of March, and it'll go until November. The public interaction, at least on Facebook, with the Rancho San Rafael page has been outstanding. Just tons of likes and comments, and people are just really grateful to know the history. A lot of people grew up here, and a lot of people are brand new, so it brings them the history every time they come to the park. We also have an exhibit planned June 1st to 30th at the Wilbur D. May Museum, and it's going to be Rancho San Rafael's past, present, and future. We'll have a whole timeline going through the exhibit, which will go through all the park history of photos, fun facts, exhibits. We're doing a photo contest of great pictures of Rancho San Rafael. So the photo contest winners will be there. Scavenger hunts, and there's all sorts of things that could have been at the park, and so it'll be really interesting also. I'll, kind of throw in here, we just found out yesterday, and we're very excited. We're going to be doing a mini documentary on Rancho San Rafael, and we're going to be interviewing at least 5 to 10 people who are influential in making the park what it is today. And we've contracted with WCTV, and we're going to do about a 20-minute video, which will be displayed during the Wilbur D. May Museum exhibit. And then the video will be permanently on a loop in the Rancho San Rafael Visitor Center after that.
And thank you to Commissioner Jung for helping to fund part of that. So one of the other things that we were going to do is we're actually going to have a day-long celebration for, kind of the big get-together for all these people that have been a part of this process. Going to be a great opportunity for people to come out and enjoy the park, but also just we're going to offer, opportunities for people to kind of tell their part of the story. So we will, it's going to actually start off with a little mini balloon display. And so we have worked with the Great Reno Balloon Races. They're going to come out and put some balloons up in the air for us. It's going to have to be early because it's the summer, so they can't do it when it's very warm. But we'll have some balloons up. We'll have coffee, some breakfast burritos, kind of a little mini balloon race experience, which will be really cool and kind of, nostalgic for everybody, and a little bit of something different to do it at a different time of the year. We do intend to have live music going throughout most of the event. It's going to be fairly, it'll be a good backdrop for the event and something that'll just kind of keep people engaged throughout. We will have an art exhibit throughout the tunnel because we have had a local artist that's been painting a mural throughout that tunnel that highlights different parts of the park and shows it in different phases throughout the year. So he's going to work on that mural and also have some great interaction with the public for that. We also will have Reno Disc Golf Association coming out, and they're going to do a disc golf display, a demonstration, and provide some instruction to anybody who may be interested in participating in that. We have the Nevada Farms and Families area that's always had kind of an agricultural-based, aspect to it. So we're going to have the farm animals there and people that remember the Great Basin Adventure. This will be somewhat of a throwback to the petting zoo type thing. So, again, bringing in that past. And then we'll have food trucks, food there, and then the photo contests, we will announce the winners there. And then we also are going to do some tours through the ranch house because there is definitely a significant history associated with the ranch house there. So it'll be great to highlight that and, talk about how that has been influential in keeping the park and also its legacy that's associated with that structure.
And to be continued here, we'll have the discovery room open with kids crafts going on in there. We're going to have partner organizations and clubs who will be tabling, and they're going to put on turf games and activities behind Pagoda on all the turf there. We'll have the Chevy Club of Reno. They're going to do a show and shine. We're pretty excited. We're going to do a storytelling event in Peavine Pavilion and open it up for the public and key figures in the development of the park to tell their stories. We will have a time limit on their speaking. We'll have Truckee Meadows Park Foundation doing 2 guided hikes throughout the whole park. And we'll have Rancho and Peavine trails on a mountain bike to explore with the Biggest Little Trail stewards. Revolution Dog Sports, we have to include the dogs that make such a big part of Rancho. So they're going to have a dog agility course going on and invite the public to test their dogs on it. Humane Society will be there. And they'll parade their dogs in and do an adoption event as well. And then we're going to have a fun, real self-guided photo scavenger hunt throughout the park, where we'll show photos of when the park was being developed and the angle, and people have to go find that spot where it was taken and take their picture in front of it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's it.
So that's the presentation of the program. It's going to be, it's a pretty large scale one as far as the timeline, but figure 40 years and something that was this integral in our community, we had to do it justice. So thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know how you're going to pack 40 years of history into a single day, but good luck. Commissioners, any questions? All right, excellent presentation, and thank you again. I'll look forward to coming up and checking it out.
Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Parks Report.
Hello, for the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum. I didn't want to go through too much. We've had a bigger agenda today. Just some minor things letting you know. You may realize that there's not a May Center report that's been given out in the monthly reports. 3 of our 4 staff are no longer going to be there at the end of this month. So, but when we do have full staffing, we'll be getting back onto having May Center reports. But just want to make sure you knew that it wasn't lack of people doing it. We just we're pretty short staffed over there right now. And then so we're filling a lot of full-time vacancies in addition to seasonal staff. So we've got a lot of hiring going on right now. Bartley Ranch, they hosted the Gardening in Nevada, and they're wrapping up they wrapped that up at the end of March. There's a couple different programs that have been going on. It sounds like Ranger Andy Brown put on an astronomy program. And the KTMB cleanup event is coming April 30th, the end of this month. I know Denise has been working hard on that. She's our liaison that works with KTMB and all of the volunteer events, and we have several sites for that. The cleanup is open to any members of the community, so if anybody wants to volunteer and help, you're welcome to sign up on ktmb.org. And then I think there's ranger walks going on. Chris, over the park ranger out of Lazy 5 Regional Park, did a tour of Sun Valley, and just trying to get a little bit more programming out there in the off season, which is always nice, before it gets too busy out there. I shouldn't say too busy, before it gets too busy for us to be able to do a lot of programming. And then the volunteer services report, I just wanted to highlight, we had 357 hours in February, which is pretty decent for February. We had weather was nice and conducive to a lot of volunteering. And Denise does a great job. So if there's any questions, I'm sure she'd be willing to answer some too. But those are all the highlights I really had. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions, commissioners? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Moving on to item 12, the director's report.
Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, Dave Solero, Assistant County Manager and Director of the Community Services Department. Just a couple of quick updates for you. Actions by the Board of County Commissioners over the month of March included the approval of the boundary line adjustments and property or purchase and sale agreement outlining the terms for the Riverbend parcel. So if you'll remember, this is the parcel out in Mogul that allows Washoe County to have more Truckee River property along the Truckee River there in exchange for some lands that we had for part of the Riverbend mobile home park and storage. The board also held a meeting to adopt a resolution of intent to sell the Regional Transportation Commission some easements and right-of-way up at the North Valleys Regional Park. It'll be interesting for you all that next Tuesday at the board meeting, they'll actually hear that public hearing. So if you have any comments related to that specifically, they will hear those at a public hearing on April 12th. Washoe County Parks will have $38,980 in return for the sale of that. That's the appraised value. So you'll remember that as part of your staff report. We continue to work with the First Tee of Northern Nevada to finalize the purchase and sale agreement for Wild Creek. We've got a couple of things going on. So the school district completed a boundary line adjustment, which added some property to that parcel. We are working through a water service agreement with the city of Sparks for effluent to continue to water that property. The agreement for that runs out this year. And then we're working to split the closing probably into two separate sections, one for the south portion of the property and then another for a future 40-acre parcel that we are working right now with the BLM to try to separate out from a larger parcel so that we just purchase the 40 acres that will be necessary for the golf course. So we're working through that. And then the last item of note is that the budget is being finalized for the tentative budget, which will be heard by the Board of County Commissioners on April 19th. And I wish I had some information to let you know where the board or the manager's office was headed with the tentative budget, but I do not have that information. So that will be posted on an agenda 3 days prior to the April 19th board meeting. So we'll see where we stand in that tentative budget. So that's what I have, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, questions? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That takes us to item 13, Commissioners' requests for future agenda items. Any requests for future agenda items? Seeing none, moving to item 14, is there any public comment?
Just a reminder to use that raise hand icon if you have public comment. So I would say we have no public comment.
All right, seeing none, that takes us to item 15. The meeting is adjourned.